Picture and all that?
Not a good picture. No. Now we discussed this issue. They need night and fast motion and
These
be
are-
able to see a license plate.
These are
Steal
cheap
anything
cameras.
from you,
You,
meaning-
you're not going
No,
to get
we
anything
haven't
special
had
off
anything
of them.
Well,
They work as advertised, but that's about it.
So they hit the mailbox?
Making nice
they opened it.
boxes.
They
Yeah.
opened it and checked it
They're going
out.
down the
I actually made that. I actually designed that
Again.
box all by myself.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
205.
Uh,
What do they expect to
it's
find?
at a ESP 32.
Graduation check, graduation cash.
Oh,
Battery?
okay.
Oh, yeah,
Weekend,
you can
people
put
out of
battery
town.
on
Real
it.
time clock?
Memorial Day.
No,
What's that?
Memorial Day
Switch.
weekend.
So they're hitting the holidays when they think people are out of town.
You
but
got
now
SD
stacking up
card.
a little bit.
They went out of town, didn't
And
shut
the-
off
and
their
the
mail.
display.
and the
happens.
display.
OLED.
It does regularly on
Well,
the street.
you saw the glitter bomb tape, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I designed that case all by myself, and it only took 3 revisions
You
to
do
get
a
it
glitter
right.
bomb.
Yeah.
I'm getting better.
Gotta remember not to leave it for the
I
mailman.
have
though.
discovered that if I use a micrometer to get measurements and stuff, and if it doesn't work the first time, just start over, because trying to modify something I've done makes it worse.
Those were not all that expensive. Those were like $9 or $10.
10?
Yeah.
What is that?
ESP 32 with
Yeah.
an O-
But
OLED
the switch has
Oh, okay.
2 directions and a push button.
and a button. Yeah, it's a toggle.
Can make a menu.
It's what I'm planning on doing. Yeah. It's got an SD card reader. It's got the 3D antenna.
Crash it. It's bended.
Yeah, it arrived like that from China. It works. I'm not worried about it. It actually has a decent battery charger on it too. The battery charger on this one's actually pretty good, but I'm not going to use a battery for it. So, are we ready?
You're in charge. I don't know. You tell me.
I guess we're ready. I guess we'll go around and say who we is and what we're doing. I'm Leroy. I'm here. I'm doing stuff.
Vicente. I like do stuff also. Today I will show
I'm not
something.
doing anything.
You can join me to show this.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm Kenny and I'm here.
Present.
Yeah,
Present.
Dale
Present.
here, and
Present.
we're still recruiting and hiring both locations.
I'm here. My interesting topic is the magazines in the library available online. Be aware, PC World, PC Week, and Mac World also is available.
If they have a Linux magazine available,
Nope. Look for it.
It's
Because I
called the
knew he was
internet.
going to be.
called the internet.
It's called the internet.
I'm Steve, I'm here.
Steve's here. Woo! Let's do interesting things in the news that I saw this week, wherever my thing is. I didn't read this fully, but Sony's building an IoT device that they're claiming 60-mile range on,
That's pretty good.
low power. I didn't read the whole thing.
Good job last week, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, now you can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came back.
Who are you and why are you here?
Best dad.
Oh, okay.
Best Dad Bod.
It's all good.
Oh yeah. Had that.
He had a,
Like me,
he had a
got that
mail
pork
bandit
chop
over
body.
the weekend trying to get.
Oh, did you catch him?
Oh,
Nope. I got him on camera, but it's low res, dark. You can't see anything.
Well, you know what? I had somebody hit my mailbox with their passenger side mirror, and I thought, I called the police. We looked at the video.
and the cop said,
I
"There's
don't-
nothing we can
they never
do."
found the car. I don't know what. I mean, I'm sure it was a young kid or something, but you'd have thought they were in the neighborhood somewhere. And so never found the car.
What?
Did you have their mirror?
Yeah, I had a piece of the mirror, and everything.
We-
We knew what color the car was.
We were discussing my problem is the camera resolution, night, dark, fast car. In your case, fast car. Mine actually stops enough to get out.
Wow.
And the trail cameras, I don't think they would do that. They have an interval where they're dead. They take a picture and they're kind of dead for a little bit.
So why was he there so late?
2 o'clock in the morning because he didn't want to get caught.
But I know what's in your mailbox at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, what it is it's a Memorial Day weekend. People been out of town.
Oh,
People
so he was
taking
just
trips.
checking. He was just checking.
Yeah.
Oh, he probably checking a lot of mailboxes.
He's trying to get the graduation money
Yeah.
that they're passing out.
I
It's-
got you, yeah.
But at holidays, they're going to hit on the holidays. So if I can do a special setup, maybe I can get a trail cam. To do it. I'll try it but the long holidays.
We
You
went.
know
We
what you're
went.
missing? I mean, you said they got
This
something.
time they didn't get anything. Last time we know what they got.
We went at
Check.
skew again. We went at skew again.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I don't know if anybody else saw this video about the Arduino from Adafruit. Adafruit has made it possible for USB support on some of the Arduino boards, so that you can just drag and drop files into the SD card. And yeah, it's actually, I can see some uses where you would need that, and some uses where that wouldn't be so handy. But it turns your your Arduino board into a USB flash drive kind of thing. So we've got a new packet mode for amateur radios that I saw, which looks interesting.
We're suicidal. We needed a new digital mode.
We need yet another digital mode.
If it's
So-
open,
It's supposed. Well, this one's open source. He's using common hardware that we can buy. He's using. He shared the code. He shared everything. It's supposed to be like extremely high speed packet instead of limiting you to the 9600 baud that we're limited at now. So, I don't know. But he's using common stuff.
I want to see more about that 60-mile chip too. That
Yeah,
sounds
you want to
cool.
see that?
Well, if you got more on it,
I didn't read it. It's just a.
we can look at that.
Oh my gosh! It's the long late Frank.
It's a late Frank.
It's the
man.
late Frank.
School must be out. That's all I can say. Kinda. Kinda.
We didn't
Right,
suspect that you might show up.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, look! It's so slow that it loaded funny.
So who are you, Frank? And what are you doing?
Oh.
What's up? Anything interesting?
Nothing interesting, nothing new. Haven't had time to do anything new. Ooh, I'm Frank Hill.
The late Frank Hill.
The late Frank Hill.
The late Frank Hill.
Now they actually ask when we say the late Frank Hill is like what?
I am so happy to see Frank Hill.
Yeah.
I broke through.
So we'd have to go through and read this, but it looks like they want to use it for all kinds of stuff, motion tracking and some other stuff that
Automated external defibrillator.
Laura it doesn't have the resolution fine enough to do like really good motion tracking. So it could be interesting. But 60 miles, that seems
That's
long distance.
incredible.
Yeah, that doesn't. I mean, it
It's their own.
It doesn't even seem I would say
No, that's
impossible.
something.
It'll be something. Yeah, it'll be something.
It's their own
It'll-
proprietary deal too, so you
Yeah.
know it's going to be expensive because
Yeah.
it's Sony.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is that something
If I were
just
selling it, it
long
would be.
wave?
Yeah, long distance,
Oh, okay.
low power, long distance.
They had objects that's moving at high speed. Rates a lot of doing like application security monitoring, tracking, and more.
Drone. Oh.
Drones, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be expensive. Whatever it is, it's gonna be expensive. You'll find out it has to hook up to a satellite.
Well,
It bounces off a
probably
satellite.
not. It's in the 920 band.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
So
Yeah, I'm
it's-
just kidding, but it's just that's like
It's Sony.
yeah, it's gotta
You,
be
you know 5G is coming, so
something. Yeah.
we have a lot of those little receiver transmitters.
Oh yeah.
It didn't load. It didn't load the page real well.
Oh, we can look at it last time. I'll take a look at it and see if I can come up with anything on that
But
for next time. That's interesting.
yeah.
That's something to keep aware of.
So, last week we said something about the ESP32S2
Mm-hmm. But you find out.
and how it's. Well, I didn't find out anything really. There's a little bit more that I know. So it can do time of flight of the Wi-Fi signal, as long as your router
So-
supports that.
So it's distance.
So it can do distance, which has me
Interesting.
interested.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm wondering, and I don't know for a fact, how it says it's only a single core. I'm wondering if they're using the second core to do
Yeah.
actual work and blocked it off from.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That would make sense
Yeah,
to
that would
me
make sense.
because
Why would you go backwards?
Well,
And
I
get rid
mean,
of something that
all the features that they've added to it, the crypto and everything else, and you're going, wait, it's only got one core.
Using it as an IOP.
So, and I got to thinking about it, and like in most of my ESP32 projects, I'm really only using one core
of course,
anyway.
right? Yeah.
I mean, there's a few of them that I take advantage of the second core, but
Well, when I read, one of the things big about the two core, what I've read is that it's just when you really start looking at the security part of it, that's when it's like it's almost like you have before you can get to that second core, there's some passcode stuff that you need to go through before you can even get over there.
right,
So it's a more secure process, So
in theory.
that's in theory. Well,
So what makes it secure?
it's the fact that all of your code, the operating system and your code is not existing on the same core. Yeah.
Yeah. This will probably interest you. Did you see the new
I haven't followed the link yet.
ASU?
Not
Yeah.
yet.
I didn't really read it either. I read part of it. It sounded interesting, but it sounded expensive. So
Yeah, I know. It's like, okay.
it's out of my price range. It's going to be slow.
You do that too, huh? If the cost determines if you continue to dig deeper.
Pretty much.
I know.
Well, what I really find interesting is, Google is licensing out the Coral technology, the Coral Edge technology, so they're creating competition for themselves. So maybe the price will come down, but I have a feeling that this board's still going to be expensive.
How much does it cost?
It doesn't say.
Does it say what the big block is? It's too big to be Ethernet.
Oh yeah. No, that
Yeah,
that one.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's got a heat sink and a fan.
It's a heck of a board.
Yeah, 3D GPU, yeah.
And 2 camera interfaces.
Yeah. I mean, these ASUS boards have just gotten more and more interesting as competitors for Raspberry Pis and everything else.
Looks like it has little relays on the board.
Probably uses a lot of power too.
Yeah, this little thing here and these.
Is it a solder connector?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's that, 2 amp?
I think somewhere down in here he tells what the power requirements are, and it's it's healthy. It's a healthy requirement. I don't know where I saw that at.
And the heat sink in the fan made me think that I'm sure it grabs a lot of power.
But that's really the interesting part right there. It's got the Google Edge processor thingamabob that Google came up with.
I think your Edge S is $182 on eBay.
I'm surprised it doesn't have more RAM.
Yeah, that seems pretty light, doesn't it?
It's got fast flash.
It's got fast flash. Yeah, it's an interesting board. I just have a feeling that that Google Cora board was like almost $200.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be in that same price range. So I
So
think
what would you use it for?
edge processing.
Well, what they
I hear that, and that means that it's on the edge, but you know, so is a PC.
machine learning. They say machine learning, smart home devices, camera, games, emulator, media server. That's the official word.
That's
Way
the,
later.
that's the official
So,
word.
sort of like a good tablet.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think it's more. You know, everybody's sort of pushing that. When you say edge, now you're saying, okay, let's push the machine learning, the smarts down to the edge.
So I hear the marketing. You know, I'm just trying to get into real life. I always challenge
Well,
these things.
You yourself have always been on the edge.
No, I believe,
Yeah, exactly.
I believe in the edge.
That's right. When I start talking about the cloud, you push me to the edge.
You were pushing
Jeez.
everybody towards the
That's
edge.
right.
No, but I think they're doing a lot of marketing. What am I really getting?
It's got a Saturn
Well,
interface.
that TPU is. You might know more about that what it's doing because you played with some of those, haven't you?
Yeah, well, that
It's machine learning stuff.
that SciPy processor has a smaller version of the same thing.
Yeah.
They're basically just large arrays of multiplying accumulators. Max.
But the Sci-Fi is
No,
cheaper.
it's just lower frequency.
It's only
Less of
23.
them.
It's only $23 instead of $200.
The Google TPUs are like 4 gigaops. Or no, I'm sorry, 4 teraops. Whereas the SciPy is like at the base frequency 0.25 tops.
Yeah.
But it uses a lot less power. So, and it can do real time, object
Real-time stuff
recognition
too,
and
yeah.
stuff. So there's just the models that the SciPy can run are somewhat limited because the onboard RAM, it only has 2 megabytes, I think, for the model, whereas the TPU, I'm sure, has a much larger memory space.
Yeah. I would think so.
But they're both running TensorFlow Lite and stuff like that because they can't run the full TensorFlow. They're doing integer ops mostly. To get the highest speeds, they're doing like 8-bit ins. So,
I'm thinking about this machine learning, and if you're doing machine learning, you need to have some fairly big data sets.
yes.
So you need to store stuff somewhere.
Well, you have to train the models on a desktop machine with a high-power GPU, because otherwise it takes forever. And then once you've trained the model, you can move it down to these edge-type devices and run it. But there's no more learning at that point. It's hard-coded, essentially.
Yeah, I actually saw somebody trying to train. There's a video that I didn't put up there where they were trying to train a ESP32, and it took hours for it to do it.
Oh, it would take. Yeah. I mean, you can do it. There's nothing they're doing that's that special. It's just having to go through so much data. And
Yeah.
the operations they're doing are.
He sped it up. The video was like 15 minutes long, and you could see the clock, and it was like 5-6 hours of just this thing just standing there collecting data.
On some of the big models, you can spend that much even with a high-powered GPU.
Yeah, but this thing was just supposed to learn to not hit the wall. And it learned to not hit the wall, but I would not have thought of training it on its own. It's interesting to watch, and it's a good exercise in it can do it, but why would you want to?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of all the stuff that I saw in the news. Anything else? Anybody see anything interesting? No? Going once, going twice? Okay. What'd you bring?
It's a secret.
It's a secret?
It's a secret.
No, it's
in the corner.
It is
a
a secret.
hoverboard wheel bench to test the motor. Are you planning to show something or?
Well, I was going to, but do you want to show
I
first?
bring them it's a little bulky. We cover
It's a
everything.
little bulky. Okay.
So we gotta go outside to see it or something? In the trunk of the car?
No, it's just sitting there, right?
Oh,
It's more
He
I
drug
want to put it on the table.
he drug this big old bulky thing in. All right, we're gonna try this again. So from a couple weeks ago, right?
Pray to the demo gods.
Play to the demo gods.
Radio Shack.
That came from NCM when they went out of business. That is just ESP 8266 with a motor driver, battery pack, some crappy motors, and bad gears. I had this at the Maker Faire, and it was running a web server. It sets up an access point, runs a web server, and you could drive it around with buttons from a website. The code that's on it right now is a telnet server because this thing was too slow to keep up with the web server. But the telnet server, it can handle it just fine. So this little demo. Let's see here. Let's see if I can. This is the code. That is way not readable, is it? That's worse. That's the code that's running. That's the basic code that's running on the machine, on the Tandy 102.
Can you zoom in?
Control plus.
So is that basic?
Yep. I don't think I can zoom
You can change font.
in. Try to change the font.
Ah, there
That's
you go.
better.
You
Um,
do full screen? It's got a full screen window up there. There we go.
Didn't help us.
so
It just cleared up stuff.
basically what this does is this is an ESP32. It's the same one that's this here. And it's running a sketch called C64 Wi-Fi modem. So you could add it was meant to use with the Commodore 64 to add Wi-Fi to the Commodore 64. And it was originally designed to run on a ESP8266. And that's just a little RS-232, MAX-232 board that makes it easy because it contains all the junk it needs to go from 3 volts to 5 volts and whatever. Anyway, first thing it does is it opens the COM port up at 300 whopping baud.
Yeah.
Blinding electronics.
Then the modem is waiting for a carriage return, so that's 13. Then it says set your SSID to the robot's SSID. Set your password. All of it is waiting because this particular version of BASIC apparently doesn't have a delay or a wait or whatever. And if it does, I have long since forgotten how to use it. So I'm waiting for a little bit of time, and then the C1 command tells it to actually connect. And then the AT/DT, if you remember old school, that's how you used to call BBSs and whatever. Luckily, it's just the IP address. And then we're going to make it go forward, and we're going to make it stop. And hopefully it does what it's supposed to do. And if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, I have video.
There you go.
It worked in the lab.
It worked in the lab. So we first need to... It doesn't work if that's not on. And it doesn't work if this isn't plugged in.
Making the results.
Well, what's really interesting is, you see, it doesn't actually close the connection, so even once it's done, I can just start sending. Commands to make it do other stuff. You guys can't really see this, but I'm going to click on the robot basic program, and hopefully you see here it says C64 Wi-Fi modem, press return to begin. So my screen says wait, it's setting it up. The IP address should change on my screen, and it just did. That means I'm connected, which is always a good sign. I'm moving forward, and I stopped.
Yay.
Whoa.
That is impressive.
And I can go into the Tandy 102 has a built-in terminal program.
Back in the day, this would have went over big.
Oh yeah, this would have been huge. So I'm inside the terminal program, and I can hit F, which means forward. It should go forward. I can hit stop. I can hit B for backward. I can hit stop. I can hit turn, not 3. Don't do 3. Left and stop and right and stop and go forward and stop. So I can control it from both the terminal and basic. And that's all I really wanted to do. And that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Total success.
Awesome.
That's great.
I can actually, if I hit Q, now I'm actually disconnected from the robot. So now if I hit F and F and F again, nothing
The
happens.
red cable is just power.
The red cable is just power.
Sure?
Yes. You want me to prove it?
Touching something there.
No, there's no magic.
Never mind
There's,
the man behind
it's
the
just
curtain.
look. I knew you were going to say that. I could even pull out the little blip and make this work. But I'm in the terminal now, and I just disconnected. So now I have to go back because it already knows the SSID and everything. I could just reissue the ATDT command, and it'll reconnect, and I can start driving it around again. I can do that if I want to.
So you would have been famous.
It's a lot of work. It's like a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have this adapter, and I had just wires going to it. It's like so the and last time I could do it with the with that one as well. It should work with that one as well.
What's the difference between this one and that one?
Well, that one's got a slightly different version of the sketch because it's an ESP8266. But really, there's no real difference. Well, I mean, there's no OLED, so there's no feedback that it's actually working, which is something that I wanted. And because this has an SD card, I'm actually making this a larger program. I can transfer files from the SD card into memory, so I can put basic programs on the SD card and load them. So I've effectively made myself a little disk drive, and I could save the basic programs to the SD card. But right now it's just running the modem. I'm going to use a menu system, so I can select modem, SD drive, or make an FTP server, so that I don't even have to disconnect this and pull the thing out. I can just FTP into it and put a new program onto it.
So how are you transferring it into memory? You're simulating this thing didn't have a disk.
Kermit.
It's actually just a serial transfer.
Okay.
It's and for whatever reason it only works at 300 baud.
Yeah.
Well, when that thing was it, 1200 baud was next. I wouldn't imagine that thing would work.
This will go clear up. It actually will go to 19200, but it skips so many characters. It's not fast enough to keep up with it. The modem that's the serial thing that's in there will actually supports it. It just doesn't work. Doesn't work real well. The original guy that came up with the SD card transfer deal had it set for 19200, and he said it worked just fine on his. And I'm like, I don't know what you've done different because it's not working.
Maybe you get spider webs inside your computer.
I think there's a difference between the Tandy 100 and the Tandy 102, even though
Yeah.
theoretically there shouldn't be much difference. I think there's a difference. Anyway, that's just like the base start of my project. I think using the same method I could also transfer files into my Apple II. I'm not going to be able to do that with the Commodore. Commodore works different. But the Apple II, the serial port on it, when you open it up, you can open it up right from BASIC, and it'll send lines right to it and carries returns and the whole thing. And it
I ain't paying no attention to him. This is cool.
Not even listening to
I'm not-
you anymore.
Mike's over here intrigued with me. I'm like, well, this is pretty nice. I'm taking them apart. That's nice. That is a nice package. That is you guys see this? If you didn't pass it, that's pretty gorgeous. Forget that stuff, man.
I'm not impressed with driving
That's
around
right.
a robot from an old computer. What's up with that?
What's the packaging here?
I designed that case.
That's nice.
You designed this case?
That's a nice slick package. That's pretty.
How many times did you have to print it?
It only took me 3 times to actually do that
You
one.
printed that?
Yeah.
That is nice, and then how it fits together. The thing that's a
Oh
nice
my
package.
gosh.
Look here.
It's like a kid, you're more impressed by the box.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
No,
Exactly.
that's I can see that.
Well, you want to hear?
That's a hard thing to do.
You want to hear
Yeah,
something?
it is hard. That is hard to do.
You want to hear something even? This one was actually a mistake because
But it works.
well, all I did was I tried to expand it out, and I made two different models, and then I stuck them on top of each other,
Right.
and you see it's not really lined up right. So it was kind of a mistake, but it works.
Happenstance.
Somebody else designed that, but it was way smaller. It was much smaller, and I just sort of went. And I was looking on the screen. I'm like, okay, it needs to be this big, and it needs one print,
One print.
and
Nice.
it fits right around the edge that was a mistake. And I went, okay, that was planned, completely
You know what they
100%.
say about that? Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while.
But I was like, okay,
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
it's a little teeny tiny bit too big, but I'm not going.
You just guesstimated that.
Yeah, I just that one there. I majored this, so
Yeah.
I knew, but I kind of went, okay, that's not really the same, and it has to be the inside depth, not the outside depth. So you kind of go, I got to take a couple of points off of that and do this, and I went, okay, we'll add 70. Amazingly enough, adding 70 was the right number. Almost the right number. I mean, it's a little loose, but I can live with that. I think I'm going to have to I think I'm going to have to print a second one though, or
What kind of
make that
printer
one
did you
longer.
use to print it?
It was a Persa i3 clone. I've stepped way up in printer.
You certainly did.
I've got 2 of them.
Of course.
I
course.
I need to have stuff, you know. Yeah, I think I need to make this a little bit bigger. Maybe make it a little bit deeper because those are my cooling vents to keep it cool. But I was pretty happy with. Oh, look, that wasn't a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. That's exactly what I was planning for. All right, you're up. You're next. That's it. Unless people want to know more about my weird little.
So where are you going with that weird little project? So you said, okay, you're done?
You just want to see if
Is
it
that
can
it?
be done.
No, I ultimately driving the robot was just a fun side
Right.
part. Ultimately, this is going to turn into a disk drive so I could load and save programs from here. And
How much memory do you have on this thing?
24K.
Okay.
And
Are
switch
Are
over.
you thinking about increasing it?
No.
I'm gonna tell you that I had a Model 1, and I actually expanded the memory, but the noise was awful.
I
These
think
things need more memory.
I think that this could have done 32. I think they made a 33K model.
That's, well, for the kind of things that you do with basic things, that's probably good.
I mean,
I made this fixture to experiment with the hoverboard wheels.
This is a hoverboard controller out of the box, or
No,
this
this is
may be a
a
32K model. So that 25K.
controller
left.
that you buy in eBay or
Can you slide that back so I can unplug it? Not
AliExpress.
killing batteries.
It's the
BLDs.
BLD 300 B. It's a controller for the old
Okay, how much?
brushless DC motors.
How much? For the controller?
28, I think. believe
Oh, okay.
That's the under 30-year-old.
Yeah.
it.
And this is a power supply?
The power supply from Amazon is 5 amps. Is too small for the full range of the power of this wheel, but it's okay for the demo. It's a potentiometer here to specify the speed.
Now it didn't start by itself. You had to kick it off.
No, but it's a. I use it wheel. I think it's
Not so good.
something second hand.
That was a lot noisier than
Got rid of my tinnitus.
Now this has got an optical sensor that you're using
Cable
for
or
speed.
No, it's a whole effect. And this is a encoder.
Oh, it's
I
an
made the encoder using a laser
Oh,
engraver.
okay.
But this is for another. Is to measure the exact position to control the robot,
Oh, okay.
because this controller has the speed indicator here, but with the speed you don't know exactly where you are all the time. The idea is to know exactly the position of the wheel to make exact turns,
Okay.
any degree in any direction.
If you're doing distance, yeah, you need the encoder.
And yes,
Speed will
also
get
to
you.
balance both wheels to go straight.
Okay. The encoder will get all that, yeah.
It has a reverse control. This is the direction.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely that's table making.
I change the direction here, but it's not enough current for that. Not too much. This is one direction. Supposedly this is the other one. Also, you need to adjust the maximum current. I didn't touch it. Just finished assembling this a couple of hours ago. But it looks like there is not enough current, you know. Maybe the setting of the current, or maybe just the power supply is too small. And it's too noisy also. Let me change the color. Maximum. The power supply. Wi-Fi amps. You need 10 amps for each wheel.
12 volts,
36.
36.
If you need 10 amps, then how does that work for the battery operated hoverboards?
They can produce instantly a lot more than 10 amps.
Really? I think they wouldn't last long with batteries.
That's the maximum.
But there's the peaks.
Right.
I don't think it's continuous.
Right, oh yeah, once it gets going, it may level off.
You can probably get that during acceleration. Because once you get up to speed.
I don't play well, I don't know the batteries.
I bought a new one, 20 amps from Amazon. Maybe I have it tomorrow. Just to work without limitations for experimenting. I don't like the sound. This thing.
Yeah, there's something going on.
I don't know if it is related with the power supply. It's just without power.
Have you got it microstepping?
Yeah.
You might, I mean, if you put it in microstepping, it may
But
quiet it up
it's not
some.
a stepper controller. It's a three-phase
It's-
synchronous controller.
Yeah, mine.
There are a lot of switches and things. I need to read the manual and check there.
That sounds like it's stepping.
Yeah.
I used one of those controllers for a project a while ago.
It
And
has a different
those
speed or
dip
same
switches
speed.
change how the frequency or whatever
Mm-hmm.
of how it steps. And it'll
Yeah, because it sounds like it's
the-
cogging.
if you have those dip switches wrong, though, that it causes weird stuff to happen.
Scare people.
And these are probably not designed to operate at zero load, too. So it's probably way out of its normal operating range because it's expecting somebody that weighing 100 pounds on top of it.
Probably at least 100 pounds.
But supposedly it won't be possible to stop it unless you go too slow. But some I need to adjust parameters. Maybe maximum current is too low, or the power supply doesn't.
I had trouble with those with that same thing with the ones that didn't have the sensors in it. With the controller that didn't use the sensors, it acted very much like that. You could stop it. And the one with the sensor, oh no, you couldn't stop it. I was using a battery, a car battery.
Any chance you've got the sensors out of phase? Is it a single sensor or three?
Three. There are three cables,
Okay.
plus and ground from the sensor, from the Hall effect sensors. Five wires.
It would just change direction on you if you had them backwards. I mean, you could.
Well, sort of. You've got, yes, reversing two leads on a three-phase motor reverses your direction. But if you've got three phases that you're driving and three Hall sensors, and they're off by 120 degrees, it could do weird things. So, I mean, you may want to try rotating the sensors.
Well, I interchange the phases,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work because it looks like it tried to go in the opposite direction than the
Okay.
sensing, and just
Yeah.
fluctuate, but it doesn't move.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see.
This is the direction. Almost instantly change. You see?
Now turn it upside down.
Yeah, I see you pop a wheelie on it.
It's definitely it's too noisy.
It's curious to me that it is running at different speeds, forward and reverse.
This is not normal also.
Oh, that's better.
It's also much quieter, so it's not fighting with itself as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it's stopping. It's stopping itself.
Mhm.
That goes to the next segment. That's why it's shuddering.
Try to increase the current. When you try to stop,
Mm-hmm.
increase to maintain the speed. But then maybe or the setting of the current or the maximum current of the power supply, something goes down at the end you stop it.
And that thing can draw about 300 watts, huh?
This is the maximum power that manage the driver. But
The units that I was getting were rated at 350 watts. A little bit different from that one, but yeah.
peak current. So this is the peak current you can adjust here. This is maximum. And let me put half. Minimum.
Got a pretty good torque there.
That's it. I need to experiment with this. Use an Arduino and try to control the motor. Use an encoder, a vibrator encoder to count pulses one direction or another, and try to maybe the next week we see how it moves with the display, forward, any steps or any distance. With the other supply, maybe better. And I need to read the manual. Would be a good idea also.
You might try 12 volts off a car battery or something to see. It may operate at that lower voltage. It may smooth that out. I tell you if it's a power supply issue or something. I got a couple of 12 volts car batteries that I think. Oh,
But with
I
the
got
plan-
some batteries from
Yeah.
him. They do the same thing. That's right. I
Mhm.
brought my demo in, the similar thing, and I used his the Firelight batteries.
Okay.
The charger.
They'll drive that.
Yeah.
But with the 20 amps power supply will be okay. Just
Sure.
to work with.
I don't think those batteries do 20 amps. The one you gave us.
I don't even remember what batteries we're talking about.
The lights, the emergency
Okay.
Yeah.
lights that have
So,
the
yeah,
batteries.
those
in.
are 7.4 amps for the standard UPS
Okay.
batteries, but that's 7.4 amp hours. They'll put out 20 amps. They'll put out 150
Peak.
Ouch.
just for a little while,
Yeah.
and the terminals melt.
Yeah, I shortened the terminals on those batteries a couple times.
It's
Pretty
surprising.
quickly.
When I was in the Army, I was a generator mechanic, and at our school, they had a wrench that had fallen across a 24-volt military battery, and it was just, I mean, it was a double closed-end wrench. Those were still intact, and then it was just drips. It was cool.
Sure.
It's kind of because those were hardened, right? The handle wasn't, maybe. Those
Well,
were
I-
tempered. The ends were tempered probably.
Yeah, I think it was long enough that those were outside of the.
outside the path.
Yeah.
I was looking for steering mechanisms. What you get into with these things is steering mechanisms. Unless you do a tail dragger, you end up with rack and pinion, or like I have the wagon, the pull like a kid wagon. They do have the pivot, but then you can put a linear device on it, linear servo on it, and that will steer it. But that's, you still need something, you get close to needing to weld something or having some big metal brace there to pivot against.
Why wouldn't you just use the motors to steer?
If you use the motors to steer, if you got four wheels, it doesn't work.
Well, you mentioned
Now, other than that, it's great.
you mentioned
They're
tail
close enough
dragger.
together.
You could have a tail dragger that didn't steer.
But a tail dragger dragging 300 pounds, it's going to be a rough tail dragger. It's going to have a nice tail. Right. But the wagons are nice in that they have the turning steering mechanism already in them. I thought about a servo in the center to turn it, but that'd be hard to do. I did have it connected, but I realized, and you can probably do it without welding something because it's a metal frame, but you're really going to have to secure it, find something to secure it well too, and finding that would be a crapshoot. But yeah, it did work, and I could steer it. It was slow because it's a screw. The linear driver was a screw with a motor on it.
I would use two of those in a round 24 inches diameter platform
Mhm.
with a couple of steering wheels,
Caster.
caster wheels, with some springs or something
Mhm.
to level the platform. It may be dangerous to try to show it.
You could do a video.
No, we can show it with some support, just to see the wheels moving,
Yeah.
or maybe we can use the library floor.
You wanna make a pitch for Facebook?
For what?
Facebook?
No, I have no arguments for that.
You have no
I just suggested
What's the pitch?
to use
Oh,
Facebook as a
Google Plus replacement.
Google
as
Plus
a
went
social
away.
media for us, but
Google Plus went away.
Google Plus went away while you were being the late prank. So we've been trying to find a replacement social
Collaboration.
collaboration networking kind of deal.
Wasn't it another thing that it's quite a while ago. You know, they have these companies in Silicon Valley that are coming out with these collaboration tools.
Yeah,
I remember you.
we tried a bunch of different things, but
Any of that work?
nothing's really grabbed our attention and kept it for very long.
Plus had some nice features, like it was public too. People could see it, and that's one of the things we're missing. We have some tools.
I randomly came across this. It's an interesting. It takes some getting used to. I don't really think Vicente's really sold on it. It takes some getting used to, but I'm not logged in, and you can still look at all the public stuff as long as you have the link to the right thing. It's called Minds. I don't know. I guess I can look at Facebook. I've never been
Slack.
real.
Slack, that was one of them.
Yeah, we played around with Slack.
Yeah.
Slack was all right, but there's no public.
I think we might need to like separate those use cases somewhat, because like I think it would be easier to find like a public facing, I guess, blogish thing,
Really good idea.
and then find like a chat, but having them both in the same thing is just gonna be like
Yeah, well,
mixing cases.
Slack was just fine. Discord was okay. Most of the chat kind of things were all right. They just didn't have. I mean, just didn't have a public way of doing stuff.
Yeah, I think that probably should be separate because like
Well,
finding something for both. Is
I don't
is
really
kind of
think
a
we
pain.
need. I don't really think we need a private chat because we pretty much all use email to talk to each other. This is more of a project sharing kind of deal. That's what we use Google Plus for. It was more of a project sharing kind of deal, but we just can't find the right thing.
You can write one.
Yeah, I thought about that.
And that's all we really need. We could probably look for some blogging platform to do it.
Well, I mean, there's still a bunch of options available. It's just we've got to settle on one because I know we used this one for a little while, and then it just sort of. I mean, people actually started using it, and then it just sort of stopped. And this is just more of a forum kind of deal.
Yeah, that's kind of worked good for internal, but not so much external, I think. Because the limiting, of course, the limiting factor that you can't put many images on there.
Yeah,
Which is kind of a bummer.
that's where I'm at with that one too. I like this platform,
Right, yeah.
but not being able to stick a whole lot of pictures.
Yeah, because, I mean, sometimes all you get is a picture. It's like, oh, I was like writing this thing up, and let me just throw a picture on it.
I want a picture.
Yeah.
I just want to look at the pictures.
Yeah, or I just want to throw a picture out there and, have time to do all the explanation.
And I mean, there was this MeWe group that
Yeah.
really nobody used except me,
Yeah, I didn't like it.
and it's not a public. You actually have to join it
Yeah, and then
to see it.
Then they harass you constantly.
Do I?
They harass you. I mean, you get all these emails.
Yeah,
from
I'm
them.
not as happy with MeWe as.
Yeah, I didn't like they were always tapping on you. Hey,
See, you have to actually join them to see it.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Minds thing, you don't have to join it to see it. I know it's not. It's a weird platform though. They're trying to mine cryptocurrency while you're online.
Oh God.
Yeah, they pay you for it. I mean, they give you certain currency value while they're doing it, while you're online. But that's what they're trying to do. It's some sort of weird. I don't quite understand it. Do I?
I wonder how that's working out for him.
I don't know. I don't quite understand what they're doing.
When you don't pay for something, it's because you are the product.
There it is.
Yeah. Well,
There's no free lunch.
I mean, same would be
Okay,
true
so-
with.
Someone is selling
Okay,
you.
yeah. I know
Well,
what
the
this
same would
thing's
be
doing.
true with
Yes,
Facebook,
whatever.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we're the
it's-
product.
it's-
Well, you're not the product. Your browser, like your computing power is the product.
You're creating the product.
Well,
you are the
Creating
product.
the product.
Maybe
Like,
the
I don't
places
quite
send
understand
your
how this one
attention.
works because they didn't install any software or anything, so it's got to
So
be.
like it's doing the same thing. It's basically doing the same thing as what cryptocurrency mining things, JavaScript things on sites do, except it's doing it not maliciously.
Yeah, they
Where
tell you
it's
up
like-
front that they're doing it.
Where it's like it's loading a JavaScript thing that's like running and trying to mine something while you're on the site, and it's taking up like so and so amount of memory
Well,
while you're doing it.
yeah, it's a strange site, and if you actually log in, then that's when it starts mining stuff. Just looking at it, I don't think it's actually doing anything.
Yeah.
It's a strange. It's interesting but strange.
So Google doesn't have a plan for,
Yeah, their plan is we're not going to ever do this ever again.
So long. Thanks for all
what
the
wasn't a good idea.
Another option, which is just an option at this point, is to use something that we've already had available to us for a long, long time, and that's using the wiki on GitHub.
GitHub
And
pages.
GitHub can't be reached right now. Yeah, GitHub pages. Yeah,
GitHub pages works pretty well.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, it's not really it's not a very good blogging platform though. But what it does really well is what it does really well is have like, it's really good for setting up static pages for certain projects.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it
that's-
just since every project just needs a site, in which case it would be per repo.
The wiki seems like it's a decent blogging kind of thing where you can
You
make
can kind of do it, yeah.
make your own pages up, and you actually can clone the wikis and edit them.
Yeah. And
And so-
I know like a lot of like projects, they just use that and they don't really go beyond that.
Yeah. This would be one of those things, though. People aren't going to find it just by looking. I mean, you would actually have to tell them that it's there.
No,
Yeah.
GitHub gets indexed by Google.
Yeah, they get indexed. It's not really any worse than any other at least from what I've seen, it's not really any worse than any other site SEO wise. I mean, that's just. always gonna be a thing,
I
to
do
be honest.
find stuff by googling it, but it's more or less specific stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of just how it's set up.
But
That's pretty much how every other page works.
anyway, consider whatever, because I'm still open. I guess I'm going to have to go and play on Facebook. I don't like Facebook, but look, I saw that once. That's how I feel
I
about
don't like
Facebook.
Facebook either.
No.
That's how I feel about Facebook. I don't like it. I put up with it because the grandkids, the kids put the grandkids' pictures on Facebook.
I think the Google, I think the GitHub pages might be the way to go, just because it's simple. It doesn't overcomplicate things.
And you can clone them, you can edit them, you can upload them, and a couple minutes later, they're live again.
I guess that's because I do see a lot of people using it for like just
Yeah.
project pages and personal pages as well.
That's what I think. I second that because, I mean, we've already got a GitHub repository set up. We just need to get people in there and using it. So
Give
maybe
it a shot.
one day this coming up month, we will do another GitHub tutorial, because we did one a while ago and people actually got something out of it, but nobody ever actually used it. So we need to use it. We need to use it. Okay, I'm done.
I need another
That's it.
I guess that's the side benefit. It seeds the usage of like source control, so it makes it makes the code a lot easier.
This repo here, the GitHub Learn by Doing, is one I set up a long time ago to get people to, if you screw it up, you're not hurting anything. I mean, it's there for you to actually screw up and figure out why you screwed it up.
Sounds like fun.
So,
Says last edited October 16, 2018.
that's probably not.
If you click on the one revision, you can see the original date.
Where's my revision? I
Yeah.
don't see it.
End of the date. Back up.
Oh, right. That was when I made the wiki. The actual repository was made a long time ago.
129.17.
17, yeah. Where did you see that?
Right at the top there.
Top comment.
Top
In the
comment.
code, first
Down,
line of
down,
code.
down, down, down. See the 2 green dots?
First line of
Oh
code.
yeah. It had to have been right around that time when I made it.
This right here saves my bacon so often.
It's somewhere in there. I know it's somewhere in there. Anyway,
I've had so many times where I've not specifically on GitHub, but just any kind of like repository manager like this, where it's like, oh shit, I deleted that and I needed it. I just go back through all the codes, like, oh, where is it? Oh, there it is.
I did that the other day. I did that the other day. I was looking for a project, and it happened to be in my directory. I just couldn't find it, so I went back through all the commits and went, "That's what I'm looking for, right there." Oh, look, it's right there in the directory, because I couldn't remember what it was called.
It's great for finding stupid bugs because
Yeah.
it's like, when did I change this?
So
There.
I kind of
That's where
said,
I broke it.
I think we need to start using GitHub more, even if we don't use it to share. We just need to use GitHub more. We don't use it. I use it. I'm sold on GitHub.
I use it every day.
It's-
How would this group use it? What's the purpose of GitHub for the
Well,
club?
basically,
Get 5,000
we would, any collaborative kind of project that we're working on,
You're insignificant.
GitHub's a great place to do it because you can,
emails.
I can create the project, you can clone the project, you can work on your part of the project and ship it back up to GitHub, and all I have to do is pull it back down and go, yes, I like it, or whatever.
I've only ever used it for code, but yeah, you could use it for any kind of resources,
Yeah.
images and.
Yeah, well,
Audio
that's
files.
kind of what we're talking about. GitHub pages would be wonderful for this group.
Well, I've set up several websites. I have several websites running on GitHub pages, but they're static sites. Very little updates. So I wasn't sure how the group would use that either.
That is true. I mean,
I've been using Markdown, Make Docs, so I can make the changes and then I can still upload the site back to GitHub, and a couple minutes later it comes live again.
Okay.
It does take GitHub a few minutes to realize that I made changes, but it's not. It doesn't necessarily just have to be static sites.
Well, I mean, the Boy Scout troop for Morrow, Ohio it's a GitHub
Yeah.
pages site, and half of the site is pulled in, like the Google Calendar and
Right.
the Facebook page, and all that stuff is just
But-
JavaScript pulled in. But there is one thing they use markup. I teach whatever Boy Scout is the website administrator for a year or two. Teaching markup and or markdown.
Markdown. Yeah.
It works. Markdown is great for markup. So.
Well, I've been using
I've been
using MakeDoc, and that I love it, and it works just fine.
it is a bit of a different
One of
format
my
because,
objections to this sort of thing is I wanted to make the articles that people put out there public.
Mhm.
Because GitHub, and nobody's obviously looking at GitHub for public information on this, or are they?
Well, you can get any website domain name and forward it to a GitHub hosted page, and
But if
nobody
somebody's
knows it's
searching-
not on AWS.
If somebody goes and searches for articles on Arduinos, if we have a published article
But
on,
all you need to do is put a robot text file on there, and
it's not happening.
it should index it.
It's not happening. I mean, it should put it out, make it available where people could search for it.
Yeah,
That's
GitHub is definitely searched by Google. I assume other search engines as well.
Why don't I see articles that
Do you
I see
have-
people who have articles saying build the Arduino robot and you can go get it from this GitHub site. that works.
Do we have
But-
articles on GitHub? Do you have any articles on GitHub?
No, because that's the problem. You can't see them.
I feel like for articles you're looking for like a.
But I mean, I search GitHub all. I Google search and it takes me into GitHub repositories all the time.
a lot of times.
And they don't have top level domain names.
Right.
So Google is searching those. And don't use the fact that you have no articles in GitHub as the reason, or that you can't find the articles on GitHub as a reason to not put articles on GitHub, because
But you're proving my point. The only people that are searching GitHub are people that do code. Joe Smuck,
No,
that
that's not.
5-year-old.
If
That's
I
not
search for a thing and that thing is something someone's done on GitHub,
Yeah.
it will come back in the search.
yeah, I'm not searching GitHub itself. I'm
But
searching
where
Google.
would it be in the
Okay.
search?
And Google is leading me oftentimes to GitHub.
And a lot of times when that happens, I don't even realize I'm on GitHub.
So we can
Never.
easily test that. We can put something specific on GitHub.
Well,
And
Your
then
search for
search down.
Arduino projects.
You just
We're,
search.
we're running out of time. I gotta put my
We have
junk
to
away.
have